Well, hello, folks. Glad y'all could make it here with us today. Um, Hope you're doing fine. I'm doing well. Can't complain at all. Had a beautiful day here today. And I want to tell you a little story today. Uh, my second wife, bless her heart, she passed away about 3 years ago, but her father uh, passed away in about I think it's about 80 something, getting close to 80 something anyhow, but I can't remember exactly what year it was. But we're not going to talk about his passing away. I want to tell you a story that we all went to my wife's mother's and father's, Mr. and Miss Ratliff, to spend the night because we was going to help them the next morning do something. I don't remember what it was, but anyhow, when we got there, we had supper and got the dishes all done, and I thought the world of her grandpa Ratliff and grandmother both. They were nice people, and we sat and talked, and we got ready to go to bed. Well, they was predicting thunderstorms for the night, which wasn't going to affect what we done tomorrow as long as it wasn't raining. And so my wife Linda and myself and Elmer and Christine, that was her mother and dad, went, we had an outdoor toilet, and we all went to take our turn before it got dark. And after we done that, why, once in a while the men did, but the women didn't go out anymore after dark. They'd use the potty. And us men, a lot of times we'd step out back to pee or whatever, but usually we done everything we need to do before dark. And so they was making my mother-in-law and father-in-law a pallet on the floor in the living room. Now this living room had 3 bay windows. It had 2 that was kind of angled facing this way, and then one that went across this way in the front. And that front one kind of extended out into the yard more than the 2 side ones, if you know what I mean. Kind of made a oval, half circle, whatever you want to call it. But their heads was going to be right below the windows, and with the pillow and everything. And Linda and I, we had a room upstairs, and we was going to go up there when it got time to go to sleep. So now I want you to picture this. My father-in-law was laying directly under the middle window with his head about that far from it. In fact, he could look up like that and see outside. And so we talked for a while and had the fire going in the fireplace. And we decided it was time to go to bed. So me and Linda went upstairs and left her mother and dad laying on the floor. Grandpa and Grandma had already went to bed because they was early to bed and early to rise, a little more than what the rest of us were. And me and Linda usually got up on the weekends around 7, 8 o'clock. and her mother and dad usually around 8 or 9 o'clock, if they had anything to do. And so we went on upstairs, and it got thunder and lightning real bad. And it was making so much noise upstairs. We had a tin roof. Now me, I could sleep under a tin roof all night long, wouldn't bother me. But Linda Carroll wasn't used to that, and she wanted to go back downstairs and sit on the sofa where her mother and dad was, but not disturb them. So they had already fallen asleep. We tippy-toed down the steps and got down there and got on the sofa, and kind of fell asleep. And it wasn't near as noisy, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning anyhow. And so along about 3 o'clock, it really got the lightning and thunder terrible. A lot more than it was when we was upstairs. Now, Elmer, picture this. He's kind of scared. Well, let's put it this way. He was terrified at anything that was different and not real explainable real fast. And they had a pony. It was a Shetland pony. And that pony, when it would rain real hard or thunder, it would get right at that middle window, and it grazed in the yard all day long. But it would get right at that middle window in the living room and put its face right up against the glass and stand there all night. Well, kept the wind and the rain off of his face to a great extent compared to what it was if he's standing out in it. And it come a real hard bolt of lightning, and it woke Elmer up, and it didn't wake Lynn up, but I was already awake because I was woke up on the first crack of thunder, because it's my job to protect Lynn, make sure she don't get scared. Well, she was still asleep, and Elmer was laying there. He was awake. He didn't know I was on the sofa, but he was laying there awake, and he was looking, stood there, and it come a crack of thunder, and it lightning up. It must have hit pretty close, because just as soon as you saw that lightning, you heard that crack. And he looked back like that, and the first thing he saw with that lightning going the way it was that pony's face looking down at him. Now, I don't know if you've ever laid down, even look at your wife upside down and her looking down at you. It looks incredibly different than what it really is. It's just not something that you're used to. Now, you imagine that lightning going the way it is, that horse's face right up against the window, and him looking up, and he saw that horse's face upside down. Well, when he saw that, all I heard was a moan like that, and he got up out of that bed, left Chris there. She was just waking up from the commotion, and out that door toward the kitchen he went, and got in the kitchen, walked, going a straight line from that door. In fact, where he was sleeping at, you could look through them doors and see the screen door to go outside. And he hit that screen door running and knocked it off the hinges. Now, there was another awning on out over that they had a place where they had open fire pit and stuff they could in the summertime set when it wasn't raining. But he knocked that screen door off the hinges. He didn't stop running until he got to the top of the hill where the iron gate was. And Christine woke up and said, "What was wrong with him?" I said, the best that I could tell, Christine, when that lightning struck, he was looking back out of that window, backwards with his head upside down, and he saw that pony's face looking down at him. And of course, it didn't look like no pony. It looked like something from another world to him, the way he was seeing it. And it scared him to death. And I said, all I heard was a moan as he went by me. And he didn't even know I was sitting here, me or Lynn, either one. Of course, Lynn had already woke up by this time. And I said, "You want me to go see if I can find him?" She said, "No, when he calms down, he'll be back. He's going to get wet and he'll be wanting to get dry." Well, I went back to sleep, and the storm quit about 30 minutes or maybe 20 minutes after that. Now, it was a fur piece up to the top of the hill. Now, when I told you that he ran all the way to where the iron gate was, how I know that, that's where I found him at the next morning, after I got up and he still hadn't come back. And I went up there and I saw him sitting up there on that gate, soaking wet. Well, he was starting to dry off some because it quit about probably around 3 or 3:30, and he'd done drip dry as much as he could in that length of time because it was warm. Of course, he was cold when that wind was blowing, but I asked him, I said, "Elmer, are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't know what that was staring through that window at me, but it scared me to death." He said, "I thought it was some sort of a goblin or something." I said, "It was that pony." And I said, "You were seeing it upside down." I said, "It'd scare anybody that didn't know what a pony looked like upside down." I said, "You remember how you've looked upside down at Chris and how much different her face looks when you're looking upside down at her, when your head's laying in her lap?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, just imagine what that pony looked like, and that's what you saw with that lightning and its face up against that window." He said, "Lord," said, "it scared me to death." He said, "I thought it had me, whatever it was." And he run up to that gate and he sat there through the rest of that storm, and it was daylight by I went up there about 7 o'clock, and it'd been daylight for an hour, and he still hadn't come down. He was wanting to stay right there till somebody come and got him. He knowed it was safe. And so we walked back down. Well, it took 15 minutes to walk back down to the house. And it was downhill all the way. But buddy, I'd hate to have felt like he must have felt when he saw that. Because that is a terrifying sight. You just look at a person's face upside down, and if you don't know him, it would look terrible, especially looking through a wet window with the lightning. Because all you'd see was probably eyeballs and teeth or nose, whatever. Just imagine them two big nostrils of that horse and them big eyes looking at you. I get tickled this day thinking about it. But he's a wonderful man. One time we was out fishing. Well, I had fishing license. Didn't matter to me. I had permission to fish where we was fishing. And Elmer told me, he said, "We're going fishing over at, what was the name of the place? Gulf's Lake." And said, "You can go with us if you want to." I said, "Yeah, I'll go." I said, "I've got permission to fish from him." Well, I didn't know they didn't have permission. And I didn't know they didn't have the fishing license. And so they didn't live on the property, so that made them illegal. Well, yeah, I was fishing. I just having a blast. I was catching bass every now and then. I caught 4 or 5. Well, all of a sudden, game warden come up through the field walking. Elmer and all the boys looked back. Him and his 2 brothers see Johnny, who we called White Eyebrows, and I believe it was Ishmael. Well, I know it was, because his other brother was fishing. Was working. He worked for the city, and his other brother was in Florida. And so they looked back and they saw that game warden come, and all of a sudden they took off. Elmer run the first 50 yards on his knees. He couldn't get up on his feet. And finally he did, and I don't know where they went to. And game warden got up there where I was at. He said, I saw the rest of them run off. Said they must not have had license. I said, I don't know if they had license or not. They asked me if I wanted to come over here, and I said, yeah, I'd come over with you. And I said, I got my fishing license, and I said, I got written permit from Mr. Golf, Ben, to fish here. So I said, I knowed I didn't have no problem. Now, I don't know where they got permission or whatever, because they're one of their, I believe his grandson or son-in-law, I don't know which, or maybe brother-in-law, I don't know, worked for Mr. Golf in the pig farm. And he said, well, do you know where they went? I said, they went out of sight over that hill there. That's all I can tell you. But I said, they's moving on. I said, Elmer, I said, he run the first 50 yards on his knees. It seemed like that for anyhow, because I was laughing so hard I couldn't stand it. And he said, well, what do you want me to do with the rods? I said, well, what are you supposed to do with them? He said, well, you're legal. He said, if you claim them all, he said, you can use as many rods as you want to. He said, I'll let you take them back and you can give them back to them or whatever. He said, I think they got to learn a hard enough lesson that far as they had to run. And he said, I ain't going to worry about it, because if they got somebody working Mr. Golf, they probably got verbal permission anyhow. Said they probably just didn't have their license. And I said, well, you might be right. I don't know. I said, I just Elmer's son-in-law, and I said, I abide by the rules, and I've got a written permission plus the license. Now, of course, I done showed him. And so, anyhow, I went gathered up all the rods. See, I think I think they all had just one apiece. It might have been somebody had 2, but I could carry them all. And a good thing, because I only had about a quarter of a mile to go back to my vehicle. But still, it's a long walk carrying a bunch of rods and a tackle box. And so, anyhow, the game warden left. And we had a good laugh out of it. And actually, he knew Elmer and them. He was more or less just checking on them, make sure they did. It was, he did. If he'd have come up on them and checked them, and they just didn't have their license, he'd have probably just given them a warning, because he knowed them all his life. And he's a good friend of me and my wife's anyhow. And he lived down at the reservoir in our little town, and I saw him all the time. But anyhow, it was a fun time. When I got home that night, he said, Roger, he said, what'd he say when he got up there? I said, he didn't say nothing. He just checked my license. He said, and he asked me, he said, all them your poles? I said, well, I guess they are now. And he laughed. And he said, well, I said, you just take them on with you and give them back to them. He said, they've done had enough trouble just to running, not knowing which one of the game wardens it was. And he said, that's a couple 100 yards run, them getting over the top of that ridge. I said, yeah, it was. I told Elmer, I said, he wasn't going to fine you all or anything. He said he might have given you a warning, but he figured you all just forgot to get your license or hadn't thought nothing about it, being it's going to be in a pond. And he said, if you got permission to fish in the pond from the owner, there's no no statute that says you have to have a license. It's just like if you go to a pay lake and you don't have to have a license. So I don't guess he'd have given them a ticket. They just got scared, not knowing what game warden, because a game warden that would want to be strictly by the book, he'd have took all their rods and reels and hunting fishing tackle or anything they had. And if they wanted to get down to it, it could confiscate their vehicles. And of course they would only got one because they all rode together. I brought my own vehicle. But it was a fun time. I'll let you chew on that one. And it's just one of the things that happens sometimes, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. But y'all chew on that in a while, and we'll get this one posted, and we'll have another one for a few days. I want to apologize for not having put one up lately, but I've been awful busy, and I'm trying to get my boat ready to go fishing, because I want to make a couple videos on catching some catfish. But y'all chew on that in a while, and I'll let you go for now. God bless you. And remember, he will if you want him to. And if you let him. Just open that heart up and let him in. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless you. Bye-bye.